We're ready for the start. They're off.
Welcome in, everybody. TGIF, it's first call. Thank God it's first call. Jeff Siegel joining me this week as we look at 8 stakes races around North America this weekend. It's the big one, the Queen's Plate in Canada. First Bet and Express Bet's got all these races for you this weekend. We'll talk about the promos and much more. If you're listening along on our podcast channels, as you normally do, great to have you along. If you're following on video now, we also have that option for you. So be sure to check it out at the YouTube page for Express Bet or on social media if you want to see the video version of our podcast. Mr. Siegel, you're looking good in blue today.
Yes, I feel good. It's a good weekend. Of course, this time of the year, every weekend is good. I mean, there's never a lull in August, whether it's big weeks at Saratoga or Del Mar, Queen's Plate this weekend. Every week there's something that you can prop up as being extra special. Of course, next week, Travers Week, that'll dominate, and we've got some things to talk about in that realm because we're already getting geared up for that. But Absolutely. This week still is very, very good. We've got the Alabama, we've got the Del Mar Oaks, we've got, as I mentioned, the Queen's Plate and several other very important stakes races. We look at the races that we will be covering on this week's podcast, and there's some outstanding wagering opportunities as well. We'll get into that for sure.
Good Friday, too, in the stakes realm. As you look around the country, Saratoga's got the Summer Colony with Bonnie South going in that one. Also the Skidmore for the Turf Sprinters. 4 stakes races at Penn National tonight. A couple on the main track, a couple on the turf. So a good card there in Grantville. And at my old stomping grounds, Remington Park, they've got the Governor's Cup tonight. Jeff and I will talk about that. It's opening day of the racing season at Remington Park as they get set for their August through December meet. A lot going on. If you're playing this weekend, you've also got the Canadian Derby at Century Mile in Canada, St. Louis Derby at FanDuel, the old Fairmount Park. So a lot cooking at racetracks around the country and north of the border. Jeff and I are going to get into all of that and 8 stakes races to start our handicapping. Jeff, let's get to it with the Governor's Cup at Remington Park. That'll be our first stakes race that we look at on the show this week. Rated R Superstar and Plainsman. Last year, they had a whacker to the wire. Let's go back and take a look at that one as they get set for a rematch.
A furlong to go. Rated R Superstar outside of Plainsman. They'll battle nose to nose. Try to hit moves into third. Race on in the Governor's Cup, the final 16th. Outside, Rated R Superstar. To the inside, Plainsman. Rated R Superstar has the edge wide. Rated R Superstar by a head.
Of course, Rated R Superstar went on to win the Essex this spring at Oak Lawn. Plainsman is the morning line favorite by my old buddy Jerry Schottenkirk, the line maker there at Remington Park. Brad Cox, the trainer of Plainsman. They came up just a little bit short last year in the Governor's Cup. Jeff, it's a rematch, but these two are getting a little bit longer in the tooth. I question a little bit whether or not they're as good as they have been in the past. If they're as good as they were last year, we're going to be in for another show. If they're not, maybe it opens up to somebody else. How did you see the Governor's Cup?
You know these horses better than I do, and you know the track way better than I do, but I've been there exactly one time at Remington Park. So I don't know. I mean, you mentioned Rated R Superstar. He's now 9 years old, and Plainsman is 7, and they're both coming off disappointing runs. It's hard to say where they're at. But if Rated R Superstar or Plainsman run back to their best, even earlier this year, they're going to be 1-2 or 2-1, whatever order you want. Mm-hmm. But that's the gamble involved because I'm not sure they are, Jeremy. I mean, do you have a insight here? Again, this is something that you know these horses better than I do.
Yeah, I kind of think they might be over the top, and that big win in the spring in the Essex, but Rated R Superstar hasn't been able to follow that back up. Flash of Mischief is the horse who's interesting to me in the Governor's Cup. Drawn in the 7-hole, Flash of Mischief for trainer Carl Broberg. This is a horse who ran in the Oklahoma Derby here and was second back in September. Comes off a win at Canterbury Park, and the horses from Canterbury have done very well at Remington over recent years. It used to be with the Canterbury horses, you were only funny looking for the turf horses at Remington when they came up, but the dirt horses are doing much better in recent years. And that allowance win last time for Flash of Mischief should be one of those good setup kind of races. Look, he didn't run as well in the Cornhusker as you might have liked. He was 11-1 that day, but speed should carry farther than he did when he ran in the Cornhusker in a mile and an eighth. That's the question in the mile and an eighth distance for Flash of Mischief. But I think he's going to be forwardly placed with Rated R Superstar. You got a horse who's coming from off the pace, Jeff. So if you're going to beat him, I don't think you do it with a closer. I think you do it with somebody who's in front of him throughout. And so for me, I'm going to take my shot with Flash of Mischief in there. But a lot of respect for the veterans in there. 16 years between Rated R Superstar and Plainsman. And look, when you get Brad Cox at a regional racetrack like Remington Park, Raylu Gutierrez coming in the ride, we know Plainsman's going to be awfully tough in here. He's going to run, he's going to run a race that's going to make the others put something really good on the track to beat him. I'm just hoping Flash of Mischief can do it. I like the morning line price at 5-1. I'm not going to sneeze at that.
Okay, well, Plainsman, I like his healthy work pattern, and Brad's not going to run him, I don't think, unless he thinks he's, something's left. I mean, at age 7, 31 starts, 62 starts for Rated R Superstar. These are throwback horses, even back to when I first coming around in the 50s and 60s when I was a kid, and we had all these old geldings that were running, different era, different time. But I always like to see these horses because they are neat. They always lay their bodies down, and always like to see them continue to run well and win. And so we'll see what happens. It's a great opening stake race. Lots of money there, $175,000. They're not going up for nothing. No. And we'll be checking in at Remington Park for opening night tonight.
And you can check on my social media feed at Horse Player Now. I do a Reasons to Remington weekly setup blog, so give you some reasons to look at the racing there in Oklahoma City. Check that out this week. Also got a pick 4 ticket for you for Saturday night at Remington as part of that short social media blog. Let's go to Saratoga for our first stakes race of the weekend from the Spa on Saturday. And race number 8 is the Lake Placid Stakes. Now, there's going to be a couple scratches out of here. Dave Grenning from DRF has reported the 7 Kanezi and the 8 Koala Princess. So the graphic goes 1 through 6, Jeff, and of those 6, 4 are trained by Chad Brown. And before I talk to you about the handicapping aspect of this race, certainly have to mention the elephant in the room, Chad Brown's domestic violence issues with the courts at Saratoga. It doesn't appear that NYRA at this point is going to take any kind of injunctive action against him. It looks to be business as usual on the racetrack, at least for his entries. We'll see if the legal process merits anything that New York will take action on in terms of his licensing with the State Gaming Commission or with his access to the track and the grounds. But right now it looks to be that Chad Brown will just kind of go on being a trainer, and we'll separate Chad Brown, the horse trainer, from Chad Brown, the citizen, who's got his own issues to deal with there in the courts. But I would not anticipate as a horse player that Chad's domestic abuse problem is going to have any immediate impact on these races. You're not going to see mass scratches of Chad's horses and things like that. I think if there was something to come down in that respect, we probably would have seen or heard it by now as we record our podcast around the lunchtime hour on Friday. So we'll assume Chad's going to have 4 of the 6 here in the Lake Placid. Jeff, speaking on handicapping terms, how do you see it?
Well, I was actually surprised to see with the Moonlight in the entries. I wasn't anticipating she would be coming back so quickly, but obviously she's doing well, and I loved her winning the Saratoga Oaks. She showed good tactical speed. They were going slow, and she was in the right spot, but she put herself in the race. And then, the race was reduced to maybe an eighth of a mile sprint, and she showed a very good turn of foot to beat a very good filly in McCulloch. So I don't know about the quick turnaround, relatively quick turnaround. It's 2 weeks. But Charles Appleby, I mean, he knows his horses, and I would think that, he must be thinking that she's good enough to come right back and do it again. And if she does, she should beat this field. Not a great gamble or anything like that. You got one trainer with 4 out of the 6 horses and another one coming back in 2 weeks. So whatever happens. But if With the Moonlight comes back and runs back to her best form, I would think that she should be able to beat this field.
Flavian Pratt changes seats on the Chad Brown entrance. He goes to Eminent Victor, who he rode last time, but he jumps off a Haughty in here, and Joel Rosario picks up that mount. Haughty's a horse who early in her 2-year-old career really looked like the next Chad Brown superstar, and she just hasn't developed quite this year. She won the Penn National Oaks on soft turf, didn't get out until June, But that last race in the Belmont Oaks Invitational, Jeff, she just really didn't pick up a hoof in that one in July. Maybe the fact that she skipped the Saratoga Oaks Invitational and comes in here a little fresher, maybe that helps her a bit. But I'm expecting Haughty at some point to show some of that old form, but maybe she was just an early developer. Any thoughts on her?
Well, I mean, we've got workouts here, recent workouts on XBTV, so you can check it out. She breathed in company on August 14th with Consumer Spending. We also have a workout, Dulce Zell breathed for Chad Brown, and she did that with Eminent Victor. So, I mean, you can kind of look at the workouts and I'll capsulize. They all look good. What can I tell you? You know, they all look like they're capable of bouncing back. Certainly, Haughty looked as good as she ever did. I don't know why she hasn't been or didn't run well last time. But if you liked her, I'm based on the morning drills that we have on video. She looks fine to me. So nothing would surprise me in a race. Makes it very, very difficult. It's just a tough race because they're so evenly matched. They're all going to have their shot from the top of the stretch to the wire, and it's just going to be maybe who's in the right spot at the right time in the kind of race. With the moonlight from the rail, certainly will be saving ground. That's good, and she can be pretty much wherever Saez wants her to be. So that's why I'm kind of leaning towards her, but not with any great deal of confidence or anything like that.
Let's go back to her win in the Saratoga Oaks Invitational just 13 days ago.
Contemporary Art and With the Moonlight, they are right together coming into the stretch. It is Contemporary Art. Out in the middle of the course there is With the Moonlight. With the Moonlight, Contemporary Art, then McCulloch and New Year's Eve. With the Moonlight in front here in deep stretch, and it will be With the Moonlight and William Buick to take the Grade 3 Saratoga Oaks.
So, Jeff, when you look at With the Moonlight's victory last time, 13 days ago, it brings you to the question of Saratoga's stake schedule, right? 5 in that race. Yes, we had 8 entered here, but 2 are scratching, maybe with not much intent to run. 11 horses over a 2-week period running into 3-year-old filly graded stakes ranks. It kind of begs the question, look, they moved a bunch of these kind of Belmont races to Saratoga, whether they were Belmont summer races or Belmont fall races, and kind of truncated everything in the stakes schedule into Saratoga. I understand the brand Saratoga sells better in the simulcast market and you get more handle on those races, but boy, it has watered down the big time stakes races. And again, short fields have kind of become the norm there.
Yeah, if you look at Del Mar, they got 14 in the Del Mar Oaks same day. So they're not running stakes every other day, it seems like. And you're right. I mean, this I don't know what purpose this race serves. It's 2 weeks after the previous one. It's a little shorter distance, but other than that, it's the same horses. So I don't know what they're thinking, but I think Charles Appleby is thinking, hey, they're going to put $200,000 back. I got a breezer anyway. Throw her in. So.
Yeah, I mean, she was already here, right? Stick around. Right. 13 days later, run again for another big pot. Let's go to the Smart and Fancy Stakes, race number 9 on the card Saturday at the Spa. We've got 9 entered here to run in the turf sprint. Spicy Marg is a main track only sort. Similar field to what we had with a field of 9 in the Caress Stakes. When you run turf sprints, you'll get some horses, and we've got the same size field as we had for the July 23rd Caress in the entry box. That race was won by Robin Sparkles after a dull performance by Caravel. So those same kind of horses are back. It's a rematch here. How do you see the Smart and Fancy?
I'm going to take a newcomer here. And that is a filly named Sarah Harper. She's 12-1 on the morning line, ridden by Flavian Pratt. Here's my angle on her. She's a 4-year-old filly, but lightly raced. We haven't seen her since January. But we have a work on her at XBTV, and she looked unbelievably sharp, healthy, willing, eager, just in a breezing work. You can look it up on xbtv.com if you'd like. But the main thing is she's by Vancouver and out of from air by Scat Daddy, and this is her first start on turf. And she's got, while she does look like she's got really good speed, which she does, she has sat second and won as well. So in a race in which you might concede the lead to Robin Sparkles, I'm thinking Sarah Harper might be able to draft in right behind her and maybe have dead aim every chance from the quarter pole home. And if she improves as much on turf as I think she will, and if she fires off the bench, which I think she will, because the workouts are terrific, even though It doesn't look like it, but trust me, look them up on the video. You'll see. And with Pratt taking them out, I think she's got a really good chance at 12-1. And I think she's going to run the race of her life. Numbers wise, she's going to have to. But that's why she's 12-1. So for me, I'm going to take an upset chance here with number 4, Sarah Harper, to win the Smart and Fancy.
You know, I kind of like when stakes races like this in the same division show, like last time, a 21-1 winner in the Caress. It kind of shows that they're open, right? And we don't have just like dead set favorite, run 1, 2, 3, and now they're all back again. And you've just got to kind of, repeat the puzzle. This tells you that this division can be taken. It can be upset. And for you to go 12-1 on the return race in the Smart and Fancy after 21-1 won the Caress, I like that strategy. Let's try to find the price again. As for Robin Sparkles, the favorite in here, the 3, or not the favorite, but the horse who won the Caress at 21-1. Just want to mention Javier Castellano, the rider. What a renaissance resurgent meet he has had. He's riding his best that he has in years this summer at Saratoga. And I've always been a big Javier Castellano fan. He's always been one of the best front-end riders, I thought, in the game. And he took Robin Sparkles wire to wire over the 5.5 last time. But it's good to see a veteran jockey of his repute at this stage of his career have a big summer like he is. He's hot, Jeff.
Oh, he's a good rider. And again, he's not quite getting the choice mounts that he used to get, but he's making the most of what he has. And now trainers are saying, that guy, remember him? He was pretty good. I'll use him again, the way he's riding. And he really has ridden very, very well. So good for Javier. And I think that it's so competitive at Saratoga that, you better bring your best stuff, because after 2 weeks in the meeting, if you're cold, you're probably going to stay cold. Right. So you got to get off to a good start. And certainly he has.
Well, Flavian Pratt, Jose Ortiz, 2 examples, right, of riders who maybe not had the Saratogas that some people would have suspected, and they're 2 of the top 5-6 jockeys in America. So a very tough colony. And then when you reinsert and reassert a guy like Javier Castellano into the top 5, that makes it even tougher at the top. Let's stay at Saratoga on Saturday for the big one, the main event, race number 10 on the card. 7 fillies entered for the Alabama Grade 1 1.25 classic distance trip. We've got the rematch from the Kentucky Oaks and the rematch from their last start in the Coaching Club American Oaks. It's Nest and Secret Oath again. Let's go back to their last matchup, which turned out not to be so much of a matchup.
Nest is the leader as they head for the far turn. Secret Oath now makes her move on the outside, and the 2 of them hook up here. It is Secret Oath on the outside and Nest on the inside, midway around the far turn. It is Nest on the inside with a head in front of Secret Oath. The front 2 have opened up a half dozen lengths on Society and Nostalgic, and Nest is getting clear from Secret Oath, who's being asked for more. Nest is in front, 3/4 in 1:11, and they head for home here at Saratoga with Nest the leader. Nest in front with 1/8 of a mile to the finish. Secret Oath could not keep up with Nest today. It is Nest who is opening up on the field. Nest putting in a Grade 1 performance today. Nest, much the best in this Coaching Club American Oaks. She won by better than 10 lengths. Secret Oath was second.
So they're back at it. Of course, the Kentucky Oaks result was the other way, where Secret Oath was the winner and Nest was second. So the rubber match, as they used to say in the old sports papers, Jeff Siegel. What do you think here? I mean, it's 1.25 miles, so it's a different distance than the 2 previous matchups that they've had. I took that replay all the way back to the turn because I wanted to show Nest trying to attack early. That turn move by Nest has just kind of become a habit in almost every race except the Kentucky Oaks, where she's moved too soon. I'm not sure anybody's going to quite figure out exactly when the perfect time to move her is and when that might be. And at 1.25 miles, that becomes a tricky assignment for Luis Saez on Secret Oath. When do you go?
I would wait until the quarter pole, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I can tell you that Secret Oath moving at the half-mile pole is not going to work. It never has, it never will. She's got a condensed run in her arsenal. She can really quicken for about 1/4 mile. But if you start moving her at the half-mile pole, riding it like a match race, or moving wide because you don't want to, moving early because you don't want to be caught wide, Secret Oath is going to make a great run to about the 8th pole, and then she's going to do exactly what she just did in the CCA Oaks. She's going to lose her steam. Now, I don't know whether she's 1.25 mile horse or not, but the only way she's going to be able to do that is to wait, and let her run at the quarter pole. And I don't care if you're 10 lengths back, whatever it is. If she can't quicken or if she can't punch it in, then she's just not a mile and a quarter horse. But you can't ride her like she's been ridden that way. So I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to anchor her. Wait. Don't try to win the race at the 3/8 pole. That doesn't work.
Right.
In the meantime, you looked at Nest's race. How do you pick against Nest? She just won by 12. But she's going to be a very short price. She's 1-2 in the morning line. And we've seen enough of these odds-on short price horses get beat. I'm going to give you one negative. It's not even a negative. It's just a concern, okay?
A blemish.
I watched Nest Breeze before the CCA Oaks, and she looked unbelievable. She looked like she could maybe beat the boys. And she went out and did what she did. Now, I watched her work, and this is a work you can check out at xbtv.com. Just punch it up and look at Nest. And her most recent work, one of her most recent work, she was in company with Malathot, and I didn't really think she was that sharp. I mean, usually you get Nest, she's like breathing, this time, she had to be ridden a little bit, and she couldn't get by Malathot. She was about a half length back. Malathot's like, she's breezing. So it wasn't quite the same sharpness that I saw in this work as I had seen prior to her last race. It may not mean anything, really. Right. I mean, she just might go out and blow them off, blow the doors off them again. And certainly in a mile and a quarter, based on her form and everything else about her, this is going to be her distance. So, and also in a race that probably figures to be slowly run early, she's not going to have to be used early. She's just going to lope around and make a run. So it's just a small concern on a horse that's going to be 30 cents on the dollar. And because of that, I'm a little bit less enthusiastic than I was before. But I do want to throw another horse in. I don't think Nest has to worry about Secret Oath, honestly. Right. I think she has to worry about Gerrymander, because this is a filly who is starting to get really, really good. She's only had the 6 starts. We have not seen anywhere near her best. Gerrymander, here's another thing. Gerrymander earned a 98 buyer number when she won the Mother Goose. That's a better number than Nest has ever earned in her life, other than her last race. So Gerrymander, so in other words, what I'm saying is Nest better show up, because Gerrymander is not only going to be just as fast, she might even be faster. She is trained terrific in the morning. Again, go look up her works at xbtv.com. She's got tactical speed. She doesn't need the lead to win. But if you give her the lead, she's going to be really hard to get by. And going a mile and a quarter, they're going to go slow early. And if they don't respect Gerrymander, she may not come back. Nest is going to have to go challenge her early, because if Nest and Ortiz think they can just go after at the quarter pole, she might not come back. So I'm looking for the race of her life from Gerrymander. Is he good enough to beat Nest? I don't know. But one's going to be 4 or 5 to 1. The other one's going to be 1 to 5. Yeah. From a gambling standpoint, that's why I'm looking.
And two, the workout you mentioned for Nest, if it's not up to her best, maybe that's why she's in the Alabama and didn't try the boys in the Travers for twice the money coming up a week from Saturday. They know that, they almost won the Beaumont Stakes with her, taking on the boys, and they could, make a historic achievement by winning the Travers if she's at her absolute tip-top best. Maybe if she's not at her tip-top best, that helped the decision to go here in the Alabama. But it's certainly not like, you're going the $600,000 grade 1 at Saratoga. You're not ducking one race for another by going this way. But if she was really jumping out of her skin, they may have been more tempted to go to the Travers, a race that had been a little bit on their radar.
Well, she's had a couple of hard races. I mean, even when you win by 12 and earn a 104 buyer number, you're exerting some physical, strength there. And before that, she ran against the boys at a mile and a half at Belmont. She has a right maybe not to be quite as sharp. She may not have to be. But I'm telling you, Gerrymander is a really good filly. I mean, she's starting to get really good. You look at her form last year as a 2-year-old. She was good then, obviously, Group 1 placed. But she's only had 2 starts as a 3-year-old. And she's good. She had no chance in the 8 Bells, draw a line through that. She comes back and wins the Mother Goose. She's 6-1 that day. Looked great. And I'm telling you, again, look at the works. Go to XBTV, and you're going to say, uh-oh, that filly scares me.
Zoe Cabin and crew doing a really good job up at Saratoga getting works for you, so be sure to check those out and use that as a handicapping resource. And if you want the workouts kind of spoon-fed to you each day, there's an in-to-day report when you log into your expressbet.com account. that you can get each day. Click on the in-today workouts for Saratoga, and they'll give you every work that they have in the library for horses in those races today. So a really good resource. And it's Saturday at Saratoga. If you're playing the Alabama and some of those late stakes races we talked about, you might as well get involved in the Fun in the Sun handicapping contest, because each Saturday at Saratoga and Del Mar, the last 5 at Saratoga, the first 5 races at Del Mar are part of a 10-race handicapping contest. $10 win bets involved, so it's in your pari-mutuel account with ExpressBet. You get all your pari-mutuel winnings, but if you finish in the top 5 each week, you're going to make your way to the final table at the end of the meet. Play for big-time prizes, $15,000 to $20,000 in prizes involved in the final table for the Fun in the Sun coming up Labor Day Saturday. So be sure to play the next couple weeks here before we get to the final table. Get weekly prizes and also try to get your way into that final, where you might be able to win 5 figures in handicapping contest cash, courtesy of ExpressBet, only at expressbet.com. Fun in the Sun. Be sure to check that out this weekend. Saratoga Del Mar races involved, and one of those Del Mar races is where we head next, Jeff. It is the Del Mar Oaks, race number 8 on the card Saturday, where the turf and surf meet. Del Mar Oaks at 1 mile and an 8. They'll start on the elbow chute, come down, make 1 lap of the course proper. And we talk field sizes at Saratoga, where they had 11 horses between their 2 3-year-old filly turf stakes in the last 13 days. 14 of them have lined up for the Del Mar Oaks, as you mentioned earlier on the podcast. Big time field. This is the best betting race of the weekend.
It is a very, very competitive race. It figures to have plenty of pace in it. So everybody should spread out and have their chance. To win at Del Mar in a big field, you have to be a really good athlete. You have to be able to quicken on a dime. You have to be able to get through a hole when it materializes, because sometimes it doesn't. And you have to be able to be a certain kind of grass filly to win a race like this. Now, Bella Bell is that kind. Whether or not she's good enough to win a Grade 1 and whether or not she can quicken and punch it in as well as she has been doing, and most recently in the San Clemente, remains to be seen. But I think she's a quality filly, and she's going to have to be, because you've got one in here for sure in Spenderella, who was undefeated in her first 3 starts, went to Royal Ascot, was a very good second in the Coronation behind Innsbruck, who may very well be the best 3-year-old filly in all of Europe, and she just won a Group 1 last week in France. But she's been training at Fairhill. She flies 3,000 miles cross country. Again, I don't think Graham would have sent her unless he was happy with the way she was training. And if she shows up with her A game, she's obviously going to be the one to beat. But Bella Bell's good too. So it's a really interesting race. John Sadler's got one from Germany that I've seen quite a bit of by the barn. She's training really well. Her name is Chopet. So that's number 9. So a really outstanding race. Just a quality Del Mar Oaks race.
You know, it's cool to see Spenderella travel west here, travel to Royal Ascot. They're taking a very sporting run with her after the wins of the Here Comes the Bride and the Appalachian at Keeneland. And, you know, Tyler Gaffalione coming west. So if you're handicapping Saratoga on Saturday and you're saying, where's Gaffalione? You know, you're looking around. There's some changes in Mount. He's at Del Mar. And he's going to be taking on one of the top fillies on the West Coast right now in Bella Bell after her win last time in the San Clemente. Let's go back and take a look at that.
Just in behind that, Bella Bell looking for room. Bella Bell gets room down at the rail in the white cap. They come for home, and Lucky Girl. Bella Bell now coming, flying 16 Archers out of nowhere. Bella Bell, Lady T late on the outside, 16 Archers. But Bella Bell's too good, and Bella Bell has won the San Clemente.
Well, Jeff, you talked agility, athleticism, able to adapt to a big field. She did all that. She found the opening on the inside. But you've got to have a horse to get through something like that. And Bella Bell was loaded that day. She's drawn on the inside again under Rispoli. She's kind of a mid-packer. She's not a deep closer, but she's certainly going to be off the pace here where you expect Spenderella to be up towards the front. Can she run down Spenderella, a horse like that? She's going to need a good trip.
She is, but she kind of makes her own trip. And again, there's other speed in the race. Cairo Memories should be forwardly placed. She's a good filly. Wasn't quite up to going 1.25 miles in the Belmont Oaks and faded late, but she was right there until the last 70 yards or so. And there's a few others in here that should show speed, but it's just a quality race. It's a legitimate Grade 1, and I think that's why Graham sent his filly out here to get that Grade 1. $300,000 purse is good. It's not great for a Grade 1, but it's good enough. But that Grade 1 black type it's worth its weight in gold, and I think that's what they're looking for.
A couple other stakes races Saturday around the country to keep an eye on. The Iselin runs at Monmouth Park. We're highly motivated, expected to be an outstanding favorite in there. We're not going to handicap that race for you, as highly motivated probably starts in the 1 to 5 range. At FanDuel near East St. Louis, Illinois, they'll run the St. Louis Derby in there. Rattle and Roll going west for Kenny McPeak, going Midwest near the Arches, and the Century Mile north of the border, the Grade 3 for the Canadian horses there. So we've got the Queen's Plate on Sunday, the Canadian Derby on Saturday at Century Mile. So a big 3-year-old weekend north of the border.
We're ready for the start. They're off.
Well, Monmouth again with the Iselin on Saturday, but their Sunday stakes race of repute should be a better betting race than what we see in the Iselin with the standout favorite, highly motivated. The sorority stakes for the 2-year-old fillies, perhaps in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies division. A main tracker here in the sorority, Jeff, going a mile. So they're going to stretch these 2-year-olds out for the first time in all of their careers, except Born Dapper, a horse who's had 2-turn experience going on the turf. Do you like that 2-turn experience? Do you like a brilliant 2-year-old trying to stretch out at this point in the season? How do you look at a race like this?
Well, I look at a filly like Devious Dame, who has not been 2 turns, but the pedigree suggests that she'll get it, and her running style in her races suggests it shouldn't be a problem. Plus, she's already a stakes winner in New York, and she's been obviously trained with this race in mind. The sorority used to be a very prestigious race way back in the day, and it's not even graded anymore, but it does carry a $200,000 person. It does allow Norm Cassidy to look at this filly and say, I don't want to throw her against the wolves just yet, but I'd like to find out whether she can run long. And if she can, then that opens up things. There are a lot of very valuable races for 2-year-olds other than just the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies that are worth going after. There's races here in California, obviously at Keeneland and New York. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing if Devious Dame can verify and justify that early spring form that she had, breaking her maiden first time out, coming back and winning for fun, and doing so like a filly who would want to run long.
Let's take a look at her race in the Astoria at Belmont.
Now Alexis Storm steps away here to lead by 3.5 lengths. Then it's the trio of a Magic Beauty, Girl By, and Devious Dame on the outside. The field is at the quarter pole. Alexis Storm is the leader. Devious Dame picks up the chase now in second as they pass the 3/16 pole. It is Alexis Storm on the inside and Devious Dame on the outside, and Devious Dame has surged to the front. Devious Dame now drawing away and pouring it on. Devious Dame dominates in the Astoria.
Well, Jeff, she'll go from that sprint race to the mile here, and it's 2 turns, as we mentioned. So, like, if you want to become a Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies horse and you've got the 2-turn under your belt in the sorority, maybe the Alcibiades at Keeneland staying around 2 turns is probably the next step for some of these fillies who would be successful here, because the Frizette in New York gets you back to 1 turn. I don't think you want to be going 1 turn, 2 turn, 1 turn, and then back to 2 turns for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. So this could be a good audition for horses who may end up in the Alcibiades.
It is, and I think that's a logical stepping stone for this filly if she were to win here. They gave $240,000 for her in the 2-year-old in training still in March. That's a lot of money for a Gervin. Now, Gervin's done well, don't get me wrong, but we didn't know that back then. So she must be a very good-looking filly in good hands, and I would suspect that. Well, I just watched her tape with you, Jerry. She didn't look like she was getting tired of me. So
no, she looked good.
I think she'll run long. So we'll find out how good she is, and maybe not a great gamble because she does look on form like she should win. But many of these are coming off wins, and they're at various states of development. So it's a really interesting race. I'll be watching for sure, and I want to see if Devious Dame is maybe as good as I think she might be.
That's the first of our 3 Sunday previews. Let's move along to Saratoga on the Sunday card there, where the Bolton Landing is the feature race on Sunday at the Spa. Race number 9. It's got a field of 10. Again, when we talk about turf sprints, we get some fields in these stakes races in terms of field size at Saratoga. 10 to go in here. Jeff, Love Rain, certainly the headliner here, a dominant winner at Keeneland in the spring before running a good 4th in the Queen Mary.
Boy, did she ever run good in that race. I mean, she won her first race going 5.5 on the grass at Keeneland, and she won by 10. And then she was a 4th in the Queen Mary, and she's training well. We haven't seen her since early June. Wesley gave her some time off. And here is her recent breeze, and by herself. Wesley will often work them in company, but I don't think he wanted to gear this filly up too much doing that. So you can see her. She's just kind of loping along, not paying no mind, just kind of nice and easy, half and 48 and 3, and inside the dogs. This is all she needs. These fast fillies like this, you don't have to work them fast. I mean, you just don't. They have the speed. What's the point? Just keep them happy and healthy and sharp, and this is what Love Reigns is. You mentioned her Queen Mary race. That was opening day at Royal Ascot. I believe it was opening day. It was the first week, and or first couple of days. She was 4th in that race, but there were 21 in there. So that's a pretty impressive performance there, and she was right there until the end when she got swallowed up a little bit, but I would suggest that she was facing better than she's facing here. So it's just a matter of now whether Love Reigns comes back in the same kind of form as she was in the spring. And I don't see any reason based on that workout why she isn't just as good, if not better.
Let's turn our attention next to Woodbine, as Sunday's big one in Canada is the big one of the year. The Queen's Plate. Race number 10 on a 4 stakes card at Woodbine that also features the Canadian Stakes, grade 2 there. Features the grade 2 King Edward, also a listed stakes on the undercards. 4 stakes overall, 3 of them in succession in races 8, 9, and 10, and they're part of a $20,000 hit and split with Express Bet and First Bet. So check out the promotions page with First Bet on the app and Express Bet on the desktop version. Find out where all those hit and splits are that you can make more money when you play with us this Sunday at Woodbine. Many chances to go into those multi-race wagers, to pick 4s, to pick 5s. Again, $20,000 in additional money will go into players' accounts with Express Bet and First Bet when you hit those promotional wagers this weekend, in addition to your pari-mutuel winnings. Jeff, field of 11 for the Queen's Plate this year. These are 3-year-olds foaled in Canada. Messier was a horse in the U.S. who you thought might be a Queen's Plate type horse who was eligible for this, but Messier's just had one work in June and then went off the work tab. He's nowhere around for this, so the headline U.S. horse that people might be the most familiar with didn't make the Queen's Plate here. We're looking at a lot of fillies and colts who have done their work north of the border here, as expected most years. And one of those is the filly Moira. She won the Woodbine Oaks in impressive style. She looked good in there. Fans of Schitt's Creek, the TV series, will know Moira Rose, the famous character, the quirky and eclectic one. Moira to win this Queen's Plate would not be so quirky and eclectic for a 3-year-old filly. We've seen several of them do it in recent years. Lexi Lou comes to mind off the top of my head, and several others. I believe 38 fillies or 37 fillies. She would be the 38th all time to win the Queen's Plate. So that would not be a stretch. And for me, Moira was the horse I picked in the Express Bet race of the week to win the Queen's Plate. I really liked her race in the Woodbine Oaks. She drew off and won by 10 plus lengths that day. She's by Ghost Zapper. You know, I don't think the distance is going to be a huge problem for her. The way she finished up the Woodbine Oaks, I think she's the one to beat in here. To me, there's only one colt who can warm her up, perhaps, and that would be Ronger.
Yeah, and Pratt takes them out for whatever that's worth after winning the Marine, and that was a good race. He's by Oxbow, so he should run on. And you're right, the fillies. You might think, Philly's going a mile and a quarter against the boys. It's tough maybe in the Travers, but it's not that tough in this race.
Right.
And you're right. These are basically Woodbine-based horses. Sometimes you get a Canadian bred like you mentioned that race in the States and go up and try to pick that race off. But I like the way Rondeur won the Marine. It was a grade 3. It was a middle distance race over the all-weather at Woodbine. His form is steady. He's gone from 86 to 89 to 95 Beyer numbers. I'm assuming that he'll make another forward move. Moira, the one that you mentioned on numbers, is right there with him. They're hard to separate. I could certainly see why one would prefer the filly over the colt. The morning line, the filly is 5-2. Rondeur is 3-1. So it's just a matter of who can step up and get that mile and a quarter. And my modest gamble will be on Rondeur on the basis of his win in the Marine.
And that was Open Company in the Marine, a grade 3 there, so not restricted to the Canadian foaled horses. Let's go back and look at that race on July 2nd where Ronjour set himself up for the Queen's Plate.
Rondua racing to Ironstone. Rondua in front has grabbed Ironstone. And as they turn in, the Marine coming home is Mannix, got held up on the inside quite badly. Duke of Love's flashing home down the centre. Rondua taken on by Duke of Love. Duke of Love trying to balance up, has the head on the side, but Rondua's raced away. Rondua grinding clear of the opposition in a massive win. Rondua stamps himself as a big threat in the Queen's Plate. Rondua canters in, wins the Marine 5 lengths and could have won by 10. Second, Duke of Love.
Duke of Love's an interesting horse in here for me for the exotics, Jeff. This is a horse who was troubled in the Marine, troubled again in the plate trial, the other local prep. Josie Carroll's won the Queen's Plate 3 times. She knows how to do it as well as any active trainer in the game at Woodbine. I think she's going to have Duke of Love primed to run his best race. And if he gets a clean trip this time, as he has not been able to in the last two, I think he'd be a factor. So I think Duke of Love's a horse you want to keep in mind for the exotics. And also the Minkster. The Minkster was the 8-5 favorite, 9-5 favorite in the plate trial. Was really rank early. Gave Davy Moran fits in there. And Moran fought the horse back. And I think if you get a situation where the Minkster just breaks and is allowed to go and isn't held up, I think he can take them a long way on the front or near the front. So I'm looking for the Minkster to go a long way on the front end, maybe hold for a share of the exotics. Duke of Love, the other horse for me underneath, who could be a little bit of a price behind the two favorites. Ronjour and Moira look like the two horses to beat, but if you're gambling on the race and you want to get something in underneath, I think the Minkster and Duke of Love, the 4 and the 5, are the two that you want to consider in there.
You know, these horses aren't household names in the racing community, but when you go a mile and a quarter and you get 11 horses going for $1 million in the Queen's Plate, there's something about the race that just, you want to watch it, right?
Yes.
And it's going to be, there'll be movement in here. There'll be leaders. There'll be horses coming from behind, stalkers. You may not know who's going to win this race until the final 50 yards. It's that kind of race, and it's just a great day of racing at Woodbine. I've been to Woodbine a few times and always enjoy going up there and watching really good racing.
I've been there on plate day one year. It was such a deluge. They had to delay the plate to weather. It was raining so hard. We were doing a fan education program up there for Horse Player Now, our night school tour, and we got dumped on it. It was still a wonderful day. A lot of pomp and circumstance, Canadian royalty involved on Queen's Plate Day. It's the kickoff leg to the Canadian Triple Crown, of course. They'll go to Fort Erie for the Prince of Wales and then come back for the Breeders' Stakes on turf. The 3-surface Triple Crown run in Canada. They'll start on Tapeta, then they'll go to dirt, and then they'll come back and finish it up on the turf. Very few Canadian Triple Crown winners because of that distinct surface challenge. Let's review the races we've seen and heard Jeff Siegel's comments about today on the First Call podcast. Governor's Cup at Remington Park on Friday night starts it off again. Friday, we want to remind you, also a couple stakes at Saratoga, 4 stakes at Penn National. Get involved there. Saturday, we looked at the Lake Placid, the Smart and Fancy, and the Alabama at Saratoga, where Jeff didn't come out and say it, but he's got like a total shoulder lean into gerrymander in there. I mean, he didn't just boldly call the upset of Ness, but I think he might be feeling it by about 5 o'clock on Saturday. Del Mar Oaks, big 14-horse field with Spenderella going out there to take on the West Coast Challengers. Should be a great race. And then on Sunday, we've got the 2-year-old fillies stretching out in the sorority at Monmouth. We've got the turf sprint fillies running at the Saratoga Lawn and the Bolton Landing. And then the Queen's Plate we looked at, featuring $20,000 in hit and split promotions this weekend, this Sunday at Woodbine. Jeff's on the Colt. I'm on the filly. We'll see how it turns out in the Queen's Plate. Jeff, should be a great weekend of racing. I want to remind everybody, come to expressbet.com and play in Fun in the Sun. Handicapping tournament, just a $20 entry fee. You make $10 win bets. Last 5 at Saratoga, first 5 at Del Mar. Those are your 10 races. Get handicapping on those and everything across a great weekend in North America, Jeff.
Good racing for sure. Lots of action. I'll be headed down to Del Mar for a couple of days and be enjoying the races down there. But in the press box, we have our monitor to the left. We can watch Saratoga and any other race we want. So I'll be in full horse racing mode this week and enjoying the races down there. And of course, keeping very close tabs on all the races we've handicapped and some of the ones we didn't. Just another terrific weekend of racing around the country.
And that sets us up for Travers next week. So we're a week out from the Travers. We want to remind you a little bit later today, our Travers digital wager guide is going to release. Be sure to check out the social media channels, your email for notifications as the Travers wager guide debuts in a new format a little bit later today. You'll get our early look. Eddie Olchek, Jeff, myself, Millie, Michelle, all the great folks at XBTV chiming in with their picks, and people around the First family looking ahead to the Travers. What you need to know to set you up, introduce you to all the contenders, look at some workout videos in advance, and then we'll update that Travers wager guide after the draw on Tuesday. So Tuesday, the draw next week for the Travers and the undercard races as well. Be sure to check that out. Again, watch out in the blog section. You'll get links to it at expressbet.com and at news.first.com, and all the other communication channels. We'll get it out there when that Travers wager guide is ready for your viewing. On behalf of everybody with First Technologies, my partner Jeff Siegel, I'm Jeremy Plonk. Have a great weekend and good luck in the Queen's Plate and beyond.